So, my friends, welcome to a new crypto update video. Bitcoin at 105,500 US dollars. A very quiet, but also very, well, bullish weekend, if I may call it that. We went up to just under 106,500 US dollars, got rejected there at first, and currently have a bit of support at the 200 SMA, which is this purple line here on the 4-hour time frame, and things are pretty quiet. But this week could still get very exciting. We have the 10-year, the option of the 10-year government bonds, the 30-year government bonds, which are still at a very, well, high level in the US. So that could possibly cause a bit of a setback as well. Other than that, things actually don't look too bad. In any case, we're now taking a look at Bitcoin, the traditional markets, and of course also the altcoins. But before we get started, please leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course feel free to join the free Telegram talk and signal group. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, feel free to join. You'll find the link for that for free down in the video description. And if you're still looking for an exchange where you can trade everything we talk about here, feel free to sign up with my partner exchange, BingX. Currently up to 11,500 USCT in bonuses. There are also a few other promotions going on at the moment, where you can, for example, get a 10% wealth bonus, that is, a staking bonus. Just sign up using the link below and check it out. So, yeah, Bitcoin is at $65,500. Like I said, the weekend was very quiet. We're stuck in a small range again. We still have our larger head and shoulders chart pattern. That's something everyone should keep in mind, even though we've tried once again to break out to the upside. Because of that, over the weekend, if we want to look at things a bit more bullishly, there's also the possibility of an inverse head and shoulders here. For me, that means the neckline is currently around $64,000. That's also this yellow line here from our trend channel. We could test that again. $64,200 for a bullish breakout. Still, I stick to my view, as long as we don't sustainably move above, let's say, this level up here of $68,800 or $69,000, that's this red resistance box up here. I'm not fully convinced yet, and I rather expect that we'll see another correction down towards $63,000 or $64,000. I just don't like the overall sentiment. As I said, in my opinion, it's not bullish at all. Still, we're in a range that still gives us the possibility to move up here and only then see the sell-off. If we break above this level, the whole picture changes completely, and then we can start talking about 100, yes, 114, 120K again, but only once we break through this resistance to the upside. Just for the sake of completeness, let's pull up the FIB levels here. You can see, okay, the mark is at 108,000 US dollars, which is where the golden pocket from this downward move lies. Here too, we have a bit of confluence. That means this entire area up here will ultimately decide correction or continued bull run. Let's take a look at the funding rates. They're still very low, and over the weekend they dropped significantly. And basically, we're seeing the same thing right now on the heat map. At least when we look at it on the weekly view, we can see that between 107,000 and just under 109,600 US dollars, there's a lot to be liquidated. Let's take a look at the same thing on the 2-week view. Same story up here, 109,000, 108,000 US dollars. So it would fit really well to test, or rather, to liquidate this price range up here. Nothing has changed compared to last week. It still makes sense to target this area before we see the decision. Either there's enough momentum or we break downwards. Otherwise, as for the news situation, today is a holiday in Germany and things are very quiet in the US. Tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, the auction for the 10-year government bonds should also be happening. Yeah, but otherwise, the first 2 days of this week are very quiet. Let's just wait and see what Bitcoin decides to do. For me, it's clearly a short scenario up here. Below 104, there would be a small opportunity to possibly open a long position here. Let's move on to the altcoins. How's Ethereum looking? Not really, yeah, still nothing solid, nothing definite. So, we managed to recover here again. At 2,400 US dollars, we just reclaimed the 200 SMA on the 4-hour chart. Now we've dropped below it again. So the range is clear here, and I'm sticking with my maximum target of $3,000. I just don't see much more than that at the moment. There's clearly a lack of momentum here right now, and yeah, otherwise it's just a range. There's not much more to say about it. We're still in a downtrend, even if we look at the RSI. It has corrected itself very nicely, though. But in terms of volume, it's still the same story. Right now, we just don't have any real volume impulses here, and the market is just being pulled a bit more to the downside. Solana has, yeah, I'd say, hit the lower edge here again. That was the scenario we talked about, where it would be a long scenario again. If you took that trade, please take profit at the first target and move your stop loss to entry. Otherwise, unfortunately, we just have to wait and see how things develop here. It really doesn't look bullish. As soon as we actually fall below 140 here, the whole thing looks very, very bearish and will probably drop down toward 120 or 105 US dollars. So I really can't tell you anything bullish here either. For me, if Bitcoin wants to make another move up, then for Solana, in my opinion, the range between 164 to about 170 US dollars is definitely still possible. Everything after that remains to be seen, so that would be the bearish variant. If we drop below now, then definitely the 120, 105 levels, which in my opinion could also be used for spot entries, assuming you still expect an altcoin season here on the side. Now let's move over to the traditional markets. Dow Jones. There really wasn't much movement on Friday. Curious to see how the week will start, whether bullish or bearish. As I said, we're waiting for the auction of the 10 and 30-year government bonds. I think CPI data is also coming out on Thursday. So, the week isn't going to be all that quiet. Now, Monday and Tuesday, yeah, that still gives us a bit of upward potential. We already talked about the Nasdaq in detail last week. Now, with the weekly close, we're only 2% away from the all-time high. It could work out well, I'd say, with the data that's coming up, or at least while we're waiting for the data, that we might even see a new all-time high here. Yeah, then, S&P 500, same story, very, very calm, but still on track for an all-time high, so no major correction either. The chance for an all-time high is definitely still there. Then the DAX, yeah, nothing's happening, still at all-time high levels. Let's see what else could come our way in the end. For now, I'm just quietly waiting here. Let's move on to gold. Gold has successfully completed its retest. We talked about that last week, that there was a possibility if we broke out of our, well, symmetrical triangle here, we'd see an impulsive move. Then there was a bit of a struggle up to 3,400 US dollars, but that was also our resistance zone. We came back down to the 200 SMA and basically did this retest of our symmetrical triangle here. That looks pretty good, plus we also tested the 0.5 level here. I like it. If things move impulsively now, we could climb toward the all-time high. Otherwise, if this retest fails, yeah, then it gets critical, and we'll probably hit more toward even 3,200 US dollars. Sure, we still have the golden pocket here, but we've already tested it once before, actually twice, since it used to be the golden pocket. We'll have to keep an eye on how things develop, but at the moment I'm still convinced we'll hit the all-time high. But the position is secured anyway, stop loss at entry, so just let it run. If you want, you can even double down here, since we're close to our entry and have already taken 2 or 3 profits. Yeah, last but not least, the euro against the US dollar is still struggling with this trend line, or rather with our horizontal resistance. If we break above that, everything's golden. Alright, let it run, probably towards 1.16, 1.18 US dollars. If we get another pullback here, everyone who's still not in, including myself, will still have the chance to see it drop down towards 1.12 euros to fill this little gap here, and then maybe catch a fresh move upward. That could happen. We might get a bit more bearish over the next day or two. At least, that's what I'm hoping for until the auction of the 10 to 30-year government bonds. And if those should fail, there's a chance the euro could benefit from it, and we'd end up seeing exactly that bullish move upward. Yeah, otherwise, today's a holiday in Germany, so things are pretty quiet. Still, the markets are open. I'm curious to see what happens. Otherwise, that's it for today's update video for now. There will be the first stock update coming later. And, I'm not sure yet which stock I'll pick, but I suspect it'll be Coinbase, since that was something you guys requested. So we'll slowly start getting back into that, and otherwise, I'd say that's it from my side. I wish you all a great start to your day. Take care of yourselves. Until then, bye-bye, and as always, stay crypto.